Attention, ladies! We've got a job to do. First Lieutenant Yurav called out, her sharp teeth snapping together during the call. The Rakiri lieutenant entered the Marine ready room to see, for once, all her girls sitting up and actually dressed. We'll brief fully on the shuttle, but the captain has a problem. There were slight murmurs at that statement, before First Lieutenant Yurav clapped her fingers together, gathering their attention. We have 10 minutes to prep to board the station under unknown levels of control. We're bringing a group of engineers in case they just need some spare parts, but we'll be acting under the impression we're walking into an ambush or get ready to hunt. A chorus of ayes followed the lieutenant's declaration, as the 2 squads of Marines rushed to pick up kits, throw on helmets, and don the extra armor all boarding infantry wore. Yurav shoved a stick of spicy bark between her teeth, and let the soothing taste wash over her tongue, like some of her compatriots savored one last cigar before deployment. Another beautiful day in the Corps, ladies. Let's get to work. Cookie watched as his cockpit opened, and the smiling face of a Rakiri with a stick poking out her lip leaned over the edge. Right, you two run off free? She asked. Milk gave a small wave as Cookie nodded and replied with his own question. Are you Sword Actual? That I am, the Rakiri replied. Glad I picked the right craft. Right, you're going to be our shuttle's escort, clear on that? Clear, ma'am, Milk said. The initial shock of their home vessel skipping over to their position was a slight worry, and the order to return to get outfitted with hard combat munitions only increased that. But well-drilled discipline kept the pair from being too shaken. Good. Objective is simple. Something strange is going on at that station. So my girls and I are heading over to check it out. You're going to be escorting us and making sure nothing blows us out of the sky. Cookie nods, and once you're docked. The Marine commander shrugged before replying, Take a swing around. See if you can't spot any damage. We'll be going at it from inside, so you might notice something before we do. Don't go too far, though. We might need you to punch a hole and let us out. That sounds very dangerous, Cookie commented. The thought of shooting at friendlies who were currently in a highly pressurized metal box, not appealing to the man who had always positively identified targets, we do not need a never goddamn friendly fire incident, drilled into his head. I think you mean very cool, his backseater retorted. The idea sounding quite fascinating to the lady whose idea of a good time was watching crappy action movies and seeing if they had any practical tactical ideas. Well, we're hoping it doesn't come to that, Rakiri replied, before giving the airframe some friendly taps. Let's get flying. Captain doesn't like to wait. Aye, ma'am. Aye, Cookie replied. Fitting his helmet on and confirming with the launch cradle all pre-checks had been accomplished, and could begin launch procedures. Let's go see what's wrong with the station. If I see a necromorph, I'll defect into the Alliance to get away from them. God damn it, Milk. Did you know the stars sing? They were quiet, and it was always hard to hear, but they did sing. They sang of many things to many people, even though very few people could listen. Even fewer could understand. General Systems Engineer Second-Rate Triev, if that name had any meaning anymore, floated in the void in her suit, barely hanging on to life, and listened to the stars sing. She had begun rationing her oxygen hours ago, barely keeping herself breathing after having to jettison the CO2 pouring in her tanks so she wouldn't choke. But she still has some air, and she could hear the stars sing. You know what it's like, right? To exist in absolute silence and still hear things scream and sing and call your name? Yeah, you do, don't you? There was a flash and the song changed. Rising action, changing to emergence, changing to the opening act. It was time. She had a part to do. As the flicker of starlight off exposed purple metal, General Systems Engineer Second-Rate Trier raised her hand and pointed towards a fuel drone which was not. It had to be enough. Patrol Naval Infantry, often called Marines, even though the name wasn't quite right, always got the sharp end of the spear for assignments. Doing the most with the least. First Lieutenant Yurav mused over that old saying, as she yearned for a chew stick while the shuttle pilot brought her and her merry band of fuck soldiers towards a station that really should be handled by an entire repair ship. But she had her orders, and she had her tasking. Doing the most with the least. Alright, running bets, Sergeant Moraz called out. I've got 10 credits on their radio being broken and us jumping in during their yearly orgy. Lance Corporal Kinfishi, a Helcom, laughed. You always bet on the orgy because you haven't got laid in months. What? Too hard to pick up dicks from engineering and medical? 20 credits on this being an elaborate insurance scam. Only the watchful eye of their lieutenant and the mission readily coming up kept them from brawling at the comments. Can I just bet a couple credits on them just not being able to pick up the phone? Maybe someone forgot the keys to the broadcast room. My clone mother once did that when she was in the Signal Corps, and it took the engineers breaking out a warship-grade cutting torch to get the sealed hatch open. The 9 other naval infantry inside the boarding shuttle, including Uraf, paused and considered Private Soufni's suggestion and how utterly reasonable it was. There was a beat. Nah, POC Cletus replied. Too boring. 30 credits on it being pirates. The radio crackled and their flying out companion spoke up, apparently listening in the entire time. We're not free to salt all. Cookie now want to put 20 credits on it being an alien artifact that turned them all into the living dead, in an attempt to gather enough biomass to... The WSO's incredibly formally accident Valk tree shifted in an attempt to make the frankly stupid suggestion sound spooky. Make us whole. Woo! Have some sense of class, Runnel Free, First Lieutenant Juraf replied. Magic isn't real. Says the people who just came from a ship that bypassed the speed of light by sidestepping reality. The frankly seductive voice of Runnel Free's pilot came over the radio. Every woman in the crew bay of the boarding shuttle shivered as his voice caressed every word and intonation of their language. The formal accent turning the words from bawdy exaggeration to downright sensual. We'll take that under advisement, Runnel Free. Thank you for your comment. There was a faint, dignified snort, and then the broadcaster clicked off. Men, Private Bitchy scoffed, to which POC Thinadria slapped her upside the head. First Lieutenant Juraf straightened up and slapped an energy shell into a breaching scattergun. Alright, ladies, strap your tits on and shut your mouths. We're boarding in 5. The naval infantry team stacked up on their shuttles, more akin to a gunship, airlock, breaching device, and waited as the atmosphere inside the crew bay grew thick. Private Snoofy worried a task against her lip as she rechecked her carbine, while the 2 sergeants of pods 2 and 3 carried large, collapsible boarding shields held out in front of them. All she had to worry about was her heavier-than-standard Flexifiber suit, carbine, and armored oxygen tank. She swallowed down some spit and shifted her grasp on the carbine. HS Carbine number 9, 4cm laser, double-stack 8 standard unit capacitors, 90 rounds in its energy cell. The well-drilled words she shouted at the top of her lungs during every moment of training began to bring her heart rate down. She felt First Lieutenant Juraf's large hand rest on her shoulder. Remember, we don't know what we're facing, so check your targets and watch your fire. Ventilating a civvy because we got jumpy is the last thing we want to do. If nothing's wrong, our shuttle will act as a radio relay back to the old lady. If something is wrong, well, we'll handle it. It was the certainty that did it, Private Snoofy mused to herself. That bone-deep certainty that no matter what, we'll handle it. She could borrow a bit of that certainty, sure. She tightened her grip around her HS Carbine number 9 and breathed in and out. Thanking the Empress and her divinity, she remembered to spray her visor with an anti-fog coating this morning. Cookie always thought it was strange piloting the Interceptor in vacuum conditions. In some ways, it was eerily familiar to the Super Hornet he flew so many years ago, but at the same time it was completely foreign. For instance, the ability to just sit at a single point in the AO and not move. No need to generate thrust to keep the lift and ensure the plane doesn't fall out of the sky. No need to ensure you never go too far from what you are supposed to defend. No need to constantly be banking into a turn. Just sitting there, alone. After a few long jaunts during refuels, it was clear why Patrol insisted every interceptor have 2 seats, even when its mission could be accomplished with 1 pilot. Copy all, we will begin the sweep, he heard Milk say into the radio. His job was to stay ready in case of enemies, not to chat with the other forces. Hey, Cookie, the Marines are breaching. We're to swing around and take a look for anything suspicious. Do you see any radio dishes or something? Cookie took a moment to double-check his own memory. Nothing, he replied. Could be they're retracted or shut off. Want to look for them? Aye. Salt home this is run off free. We're gonna take a swing around and check for any FOD or dishes. Copy? There was a pause before Milk tapped the back of his seat, and Cookie swung the interceptor into a slow spiral around the station. So far, no dishes. Wait, there's one, Milk called out, pinging the object on the pair's HUD. Cookie swung their jet to get a better look and nodded. Looks intact. There's a running light and it is moving. Wait. Yeah, that's weird. You'd think they'd at least be able to send a... Bill began before he cut her off. No, not that. Runner free to Reese House 1. I have an ID on a floater. I say again, a floater. Moving in to confirm crew overboard. Watching where he was looking, Milk swore as the very distinct form of a person was silhouetted against a set of running lights, their bright white spacesuit previously hidden by a shadow. Milk, get eyes on and see if they're alive and broadcasting anything. As his backseater began to run down the list of ways to get in touch with their man overboard, Cookie noticed something. The figure was pointing. He glanced roughly where they were pointing, but all he could see was an automated fueling tanker going about its business. In a pirate's life, timing was everything. Knowing when to strike, when to fade, when to go all in, and when to fold and beg mercy. All these things are what separates the average thug with a ship from a true-blooded roach. That old insult thrown at the Yulners defending their homes turned into an insult to all who tread the sky seeking blood, booty and booze. But, oh, they claimed it as a brag. Captain Gravel, Yellow Teeth, Cap Gapan grinned with his head full of someone else's chompers, and watched as a pathetic little convoy crawled into his sights. On my mark, he began. Waiting. Their radios, listening into Imperial ciphers due to their honourable patrons' donated codebooks, scored to life with shouts of alarm and panic from the soon-to-be-dead Marines the patrol captain sent to their deaths. Now, tear them apart and bring me their heads. And remember, whoever kills the head bitch gets to keep her steward for the night. As he watched, the floating corpse of a ship he commanded came to life with a roar, and his hidden fighters burst from their dens. It was great to be a pirate.